Will you hit the mute button? Thank you. I'd like to call the village board meeting for the Village of Cary for Tuesday, May 1st, 2018 to order with roll call, please.
Kostler,
Here.
McAlpine,
Here.
Kraus,
Here.
Betts,
Here.
Weinhammer,
Here.
Cavelli.
Here.
Thank you. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I've been told no one has signed in for the open forum, but we'll go ahead and the public is invited to make an issue-oriented comment on any public matter of concern not otherwise on the agenda. Had nobody sign in, is there anybody here who would like to address the village board? Okay, we'll go ahead and close open forum. I have a couple things on my agenda, on my report this morning, or this afternoon. Two proclamations, National Police Week. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which May 15th falls is National Police Week, and whereas the members of the Village of Cary Police Department play an essential role in safeguarding the daily lives of Cary residents, and where it is important that all residents of Cary know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of their police department, and that members of our department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence, disorder, and deception. And whereas the men and women of the Village of Cary Police Department continue to provide a vital public service. Now, therefore, I, Mark Koenig, Mayor of the Village of Cary, call upon all residents of Cary to observe the week of May 13th through the 19th, 2018 as Village of Cary Police Department Week and appropriate observances in which all of our residents may join in commemorating law enforcement officers, past and present, who, by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities, have rendered a dedicated service to Cary. I further call upon all residents of Cary to observe Tuesday, May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of those law enforcement officers across our land who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to their community. Dated this first day of May 2018. And National Public Works Week, whereas public works services provided in our community are an integral part of Cary residents' everyday lives, and whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works services and programs such as water, sewer, streets, and highways, and public buildings, and whereas the health, safety, and comfort of the Cary community greatly depends on these facilities and services, and whereas the quality of the effectiveness of these facilities as well as their planning, design, and construction is vitally dependent upon the efforts and skills of the public works staff. And now, therefore, I, Mark Koenig, Mayor of the Village of Cary, do hereby proclaim the week of May 20th, 26th, 2018 is National Public Works Week. The power of public works in the Village of Cary, and I call upon all citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with the issues involving and providing our public works and to recognize the contributions that public works staff has made every day in our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. Dated this first day of May 2018. We do not have any trustee reports this evening, so I've had a couple things asked to be pulled off of the consent agenda, so I have broken those up. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items number 1 through 3 and 5 through 7.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Betts,
Yes.
Kostler,
Yes.
Cavelli,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Weinhammer.
Yes.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion to approve a resolution for the fiscal year 2018-2019 salary schedule for non-union employees.
So moved.
Second.
The question I had, we didn't have any discussion on this, so I just had some questions. I saw that it looks like recommending an adjustment by 2.32. Are those automatic raises or are those based on merit?
No,
Does that work?
this is just for the salary schedule. here to adjust the salary schedule. We still have our review process that we'll do with all employees. There aren't any cost of living adjustments for employees. They're solely based on merit and performance.
Okay. And then so where the other categories listed, the job titles where there is no steps listed, I'm assuming that that falls under the same. It's just that's the minimum and maximum ranges?
Correct.
For those different.
Yep. This is to make, correct, this is to make sure that the salary schedule stays current. A few years ago, we did a pretty significant update to it. Each year, we review it. There have been times when it's been zero, there hasn't been any increase. We review it based on the CPI, and that's a recommended adjustment here, but it doesn't guarantee anyone any increases.
Okay. And how many comparables did you use then?
We didn't use any comparables this year. We used comparables when it was first developed.
Okay.
Back in 2014. But this is purely, this adjustment is based on the CPI.
Okay.
Any other comments?
So are we competitive with other towns when you talk about retention, employee retention?
I would say so, yeah. It helped to update this to ensure that we can retain and attract employees. And that was part of the reason why we did this in 2014, was to ensure that our salary schedule was current with market.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Kostler,
Yes.
Cavelli,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Weinhammer,
Yes.
Betts.
Yes.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion to approve a resolution approving an Adopt-a-roadway volunteer agreement with Frisch and Barrett Agency.
So moved. Second.
Trustee Kraus had some.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions on this, and I should have brought it up at the last meeting when we approved the agreement with White Picket Fence, but it just didn't catch my attention at the time. After reading through this one, my question is just when did we decide that we were going to start posting signs to advertise this, and whose decision was that?
I think that we have been posting the signs here for quite some time. I don't know, Director Morimoto, if you know the exact time frame when we began doing that.
This program has been in place for several years, well before my tenure here, so at least since well before 2013 for sure. Up until this year, there's only been one Adopt-a-roadway segment that had been adopted. That was West Main Street between High Road and Carroll Algonquin. Which is the actual application that's being renewed, in this case this evening. So that's the reason. They do have signs up already. So that's the only
Where
zone.
are they located? I didn't see them.
There's one just west of the High Road intersection.
Okay.
Almost right in front of I think their business is right there. And I believe the other one, I'll have to confirm. I don't know where the second one is relative for eastbound, but
Okay.
I do know for sure the one going westbound is in place and has been for some time.
Okay.
I gotta say, so, you know, I don't know about this program. Just putting a sign up because you clean up a street. I clean up the street in my neighborhood all the time. I don't expect a sign with my name on it. Personally, I'd rather see that money go toward our underfunded police pension. So I think that me personally, I'd rather see less signs around the village and us get away from this program.
That's kind of where I was leading to in terms of, first off, well, this kind of negates my point, is that more signage, is that I didn't notice that there was a sign up already for Frisch and Barrett. However, I kind of feel the same way, just putting up more signage. I don't think we need more clutter. I mean, we had an issue with the billboards a while back, and we dealt with that, kept those up. And also, I think, based on the last budget cycle that we went through, we don't have this kind of money. And it might be a minuscule amount, but we were really struggling to come up with a balanced budget the last time. So I kind of have trouble with spending money to advertise a name simply for picking up, cleaning up the streets. I applaud these people that want to sign up and take on a street. However, I kind of question, if we want to continue in this direction.
Does anybody else have any comments on this?
I just have a question. How often do you have to replace the signs?
Once they go up, they're not like regulatory traffic control signs where there's reflectivity requirements and so forth. So once they go up, they stay up as long as they're needed. And we've designed the new signs actually so that the nameplate, basically a sticker is reapplied over the old name. So if the current group that's doing the Adopt-a-roadway program stops doing it and a new one takes its place, we just reuse the same sign with a new sticker over it.
So we know, for example, we know at least that this sign's been up for at least 5 years.
Yeah, and probably more likely.
So
maybe 10.
and I understand, I respect that we are in very tight budget constraints, but I think it's a pretty minuscule amount if you're gonna, if we know at least 5 years that the signs go up or longer, it's $250. 5 years, that's $50. I think that when you go through other towns, I see these many times in other towns where they have that, and it's a way for, not only that, but for our citizens to see that there's people coming out there and doing these type of things, that maybe it starts something where more and more people get involved in doing that type of thing to keep our community clean and nice. But I certainly don't want clutter, but I don't think that they're clutter when we're not really even recognizing that the signs are there and it's pretty minuscule. So I support this.
Anybody else over here? Comments on the,
I mean, I agree with Kim and Jeff on this with regard to the signage. So
I just have a question with, if we didn't have these people cleaning up the streets, the village would have to clean it up, right?
Correct.
We
So-
try to,
for
we
the
try to
areas.
focus on kind of the main thoroughfares here, Route 14 in particular. So not necessarily that we'd be patrolling East Main Street for trash.
Yeah, we definitely focus on the areas that don't have an adjacent property owner or that are under our responsibilities, particularly the Route 14 corridor along the railroad tracks. But these programs, our current program, we
So they
do
help
only
you.
focus them on the main roadways.
So they do help you in that respect.
I don't think anyone's disputing the program itself is good. It's a good program. The question is do we need to post everyone's name up that participates in the program? I mean, we all volunteer at different times. We don't have our names all over everything. We don't have signs everywhere. So I think that's the issue, not the program itself. I think it's a great program. I wish more people got involved in it.
so we don't have to buy new signs this year, so we're not spending any money because the signs are in existence, or you want to replace the signs?
No, for the new segments that are adopted, we do have to buy the new signs. We don't buy them ahead and stock them. We buy them as needed.
Okay.
And with the current program, we changed the parameters. We do require that the groups adopting the roadway complete 2 full cycles of cleaning, just to make sure that they know what they're getting into and are comfortable with the process and doing it moving forward, so they don't get the sign right away. We do make them wait 6 months.
Well, it sounds like we might need to have a discussion at the committee level about the this program and what we want to do and how we want to do it. Perhaps we ask the people that are going to be rendering the service if they would augment the cost of the signs. But for right now, this has been a long-term business. It's been done it for many years. I think that we should give them the go ahead to have this done and then revert to a policy decision at the committee to decide what we're going to do moving forward. We've already approved one, so let's decide as a board how we want to have this handled and who's going to pay for the signs.
Well, we have a couple in play here. Are there 3, correct?
There are 2 new ones that have already been approved, and this is the 3rd, but technically a renewal. And in this case, if approved, this one doesn't need a new sign because there's a sign already in place there. So an option for the board to also consider is
I
that.
agree with the mayor on what he's saying about a committee discussion, but trustee Kraus and Cavelli, are you agreeable to table this to the next meeting or to a meeting afterward?
I was actually going to make a motion to table this until we can have a further discussion in terms of what we want to do in terms of funding the signs. I just see it as free advertising, and somebody's going to say, well, they're doing a good thing. However, and I'll probably be jumped on for saying this, I hope I'm not smelling political motives here, in terms of, you said we have 2 already? Who are the 2 that, because we did white picket fence last time, who's the other one that we have?
The group called Indivisible Northwest, they
Okay.
do Silver Lake Road,
Okay,
have been for about 9 months.
okay, thank you. I'll make a motion to table this until we have a chance to have a conversation at the committee level.
I second it.
Okay, I have an amended motion here to table this. Could you call a roll on that, Jake, please?
Cavelli,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Sure, yes.
Weinhammer,
Yes.
Betts,
Yes.
Coster.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to items for separate action, I will entertain a motion to approve a resolution approving the one-year contract with Morton Salt Company, Chicago, Illinois, for the purchase of standard bulk rock salt for fiscal year 2018 and 19, and authorizing the village administrator.
On consent.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I here I go. I misplaced that, sorry. I will entertain a motion to approve the warrant dated May 1st, 2018, Part 1.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Kraus,
Yes.
I just have a question.
Oh,
On that, under Part 1 and Part 2, there's the same warrant memo on there. That's not going to make any sort of difference, right?
no, that's just overall.
Okay.
Overall
Just want to
total.
clarify that. I'm
Yep.
good. Thank you.
So, I'm sorry, Kraus,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Weinhammer,
Yes.
Betts,
Yes.
Coster,
Yes.
Cavelli.
Yes.
thank you, and I'll entertain a motion to approve the warrant dated May 1st, 2018, Part 2.
So moved.
Second.
I had a couple people ask to have this taken off. Did you want to discuss this?
Yeah, I did. I had questions on this. So with these expenses, did we sign a contract with these attorney firms?
Yeah, with one of them, correct.
With one of them? Okay, because I was looking through our ordinances and section 3.04.040. It says, no contract may be entered into without the authority of the president and the board of trustees. And we never approved this. Also, there's an article in the newspaper just from the other day, Island Lake trustees talking about towing, and even the attorney in there points out, but any contract must be approved by the board and signed by the mayor. We did not do that. So we should not be responsible. To me, this contract is null and void. Should not be responsible for these charges.
It's within the village administrator's spending authority.
Okay, but prior to that, in a
I would
separate
defer to the
ordinance.
village attorney to answer the question then.
So I did take a look at this, understanding it was an issue for the trustees, that you wanted to clarify the authority here. The section you're referencing in the code, Revenue and Finance, was enacted into the code at the same time as the section that follows it. The section that follows it is the section that authorizes your administrator to spend in a non-emergency situation up to $20,000. It has preliminary authorization. Those two provisions are read together. They were enacted together. And the provision that you're referencing indicates that, and I'm paraphrasing, I didn't memorize the language, that unless expressly authorized by this board, all contracts must be entered into with the consent of this board. So the board did expressly authorize, in the next section, the administrator to spend up to $20,000.
So in other words, then, any contract that comes before us, as long as it's under 20,000, we do not have to approve that contract.
Well, you do in your code. The preliminary authorization has already been included in your code for the administrator to enter into a contract. It then comes, and you pointed out Island Lake is more comfortable with a practice where the board approves all contracts. You do that here as well. You reserve the right, even if a contract is entered into by authority of this board in your code by the administrator that's under $20,000, it still comes to you for confirmation by the board, so that the board has acted to ensure that it is a lawful contract.
Okay, but we never had that opportunity. It never came before us, that contract that was signed under, as the Village of Cary. We never agreed to that as a board. We
Right.
weren't even informed of it as a board till after the contract is signed.
So here's the way I believe this works from the language in your code. The only entity that would be adversely impacted, let's take the Island Lake example. If a board of trustees or a city council does not act on a contract, there is a risk for the party entering into the contract. Let's say it's a local construction firm that wants to contract with the Village of Cary. So we have a written agreement, they sign it, and your village administrator signs it, and it's for, the amount is $100,000. The contractor is at risk if he doesn't get the board's approval of that contract, because Illinois law requires the board to approve the contract. Here, this board, in 1998, enacted a provision in your code that pre-authorizes, that expressly authorizes the village administrator to enter into minor contracts, contracts under $20,000. That then comes to the board. It's subject to confirmation by the board. So if the board doesn't confirm it, the person who is taking a risk is the person who's contracting with the village, not the village.
Even though in good faith, they're under the assumption
Sure.
that authorization was made.
Correct.
So if this expenditure does not get approved, what happens to this, this almost $6,000 bill we have?
The work has been done. A contract was authorized by the administrator under the authority of the code, and my reading of the code is that it is a binding contract. There's a further step that you've included to ensure, I think it's a conservative practice to ensure that it can also go to the board, for the board to say yes, after one of these contracts under $20,000 has already been approved by the administrator.
Okay, what if the contract does not, or what if this bill does not get approved tonight? What happens to that almost $6,000 expenditure that is now being charged to the Village of Cary?
I don't know. It means that the bill isn't going to get paid, even though the work was done.
Well,
So that
makes us look
individual-
really bad then, doesn't it? That we're not going to pay a bill? We may not potentially be paying a almost $6,000 bill
Right, it
that we
is.
did not agree to.
I also have a question as it pertains to the contract and the $20,000 limit. Insofar as how were we sure that it was going to be under $20,000? It was an open-ended contract.
That was up to me to make sure it was under $20,000 because that's the village administrator's spending authority.
But what if it wasn't? I mean, there was no way for you to know that.
I informed the individual completing the work of my spending authority.
Well, I have an issue with this because you're asking trustees to approve an expenditure which the vast majority of this board is unaware what it was for. So I think it's very difficult for any trustee to approve that sort of expenditure.
This isn't unique though. This has happened before. Separate firms have been authorized by the village administrator going back to our previous village administrator. This isn't the first time this has been done.
Right, if I could just add, I think you had another follow-up question to your initial question. I just want to make sure I answer the question fully. Your code at this point, whether this wasn't this board that enacted this provision has been in your code for some time. It authorizes, as many municipalities do, the administrator to enter into lesser contracts. And by lesser contracts, I don't mean significant necessarily, but in an amount up to whatever this is. Here it's $20,000. So when the administrator approves a contract, non-emergency expenditure, in an amount less than $20,000, the village is essentially entered into a contract. Your code says the administrator can enter into these contracts. You have a provision that also essentially says that the board itself can also act on the contract to confirm it. The language doesn't say you can reject the contract. It doesn't say you can consider it and alter it or revise it or pay for part of it. It says it comes to the board for confirmation or approval.
Okay, well-
As long as, and the only other qualification that I see in that code provision is that it has to be consistent with budgetary constraints and there has to be an appropriation for the expenditure. And in this case, I believe there's an appropriation for the expenditure, a prior appropriation. And the codes don't have to authorize $20,000 expenditures by administrator. It is a common provision. So here, your code does authorize this contract. So when you say $6,000 has been spent by this law firm, to complete an investigation, what happens to that expense? There is a contract that the village has entered into here for $6,000. So it's like any other $6,000 contract where the work has been completed.
I would just add too, I talked to the previous village council before anything was done. They were fully apprised of this before I executed any documents or brought on separate legal counsel. So they were fully apprised of this and advised me through the process.
Okay, I guess what I struggle with is under the separate section, which specifically addresses contracts. It specifically says, no contract may be entered into without the authority of the president and board of trustees. So that's the part, and then the financial expenditures is a separate section under there, which under the non-emergency expenditures does not cover anything about contracts. So I guess I disagree, especially some of the other stuff I've read from other villages and just talking to other attorneys and talking to other village managers. So I don't think, Jake, you had the authorization to put us under that contract.
And
And I think you put us in a really bad position here.
I talked to previous legal counsel before this occurred.
Previous legal counsel
And-
who was going to let us vote on an ordinance for 5 o'clock PM, previous legal counsel who gave us bad information on conflict of interest. I don't have a lot of faith in that, in what they're telling you. I'm sorry.
Well, and that's why I confirmed here with Attorney Euler here.
He was not our attorney back in February, though.
I understand that, and that's why I contacted our previous attorney before anything was done and followed their advisement.
No, not if you entered into the contract in February. You didn't contact Attorney Euler.
No, I'm talking about Ansel Glink.
So what budget expenditure is this listed under?
This is going to come out of legal. Here, the village is appropriate for these dollars.
If I could just say one thing, I think one of the reasons this was done was because of the fact that we were looking for outside other counsel to represent the village of Cary. The decision was made that in light of what was being discussed or what was being investigated, that it would be in the village's best interest to have somebody else handle this, so that there was an impartial view on the situation.
Represent the village of Cary or represent one individual?
Represent the village of Cary emphatically.
Well, I have trouble with the administrator having the specific authorization to do what was done with these monies. There is nowhere in our code that allows him to do that, period.
I believe our attorney has stated that otherwise. You know, just say, what if this was handed to the corporate counsel at that time? They would have incurred the exact same expenses that we're looking for reimbursement for now. Had we not done this, this fee would have been gone to Ansel Glink. We would have been charged by Ansel Glink to handle this.
I
It
don't
was a
think so,
decision
because
to
it
try
would
to
have
be
been an
fair.
Independent.
I understand what you're saying, but in light of the situation, it was best that we looked to an outside counsel. You know, otherwise we could have had Ansel Glink handle this, and we wouldn't even be having this discussion right now.
I don't even think that attorneys needed to get involved in this period. After
I
doing
agree.
more research on the topic, I don't think that
You
we
agree?
needed to get involved at all.
Excuse me?
You agree? That's a joke.
Okay, Mr. Kraus. Is there any other discussion on this?
Yeah, I'd like to say something. I think it's very, if I'm someone listening to this, I'd be very confused as to what in the world is going on up here. I don't think that we're having any transparency here. I'm sorry, did you? I think that we have a question of transparency. For the record, I did not ask for anything to be, an attorney to be hired. But I will give an example of, I believe that A couple of weeks ago, one of our other trustees asked for an attorney to be present because they were not happy with a Facebook post and wanted to meet with our chief and with another counsel, and that was taken care of and done.
I have
Am
no
I
idea
correct?
what you're
Am I
talking about
correct
right
with
now.
that? Jake, am I correct with that? Did that occur?
Yeah, there was outside legal counsel that was,
Honestly, Ellen, I have no idea what you are talking about right now.
right,
I don't
can
even
we-
know what this is even about. I am very confused, probably just as confused as like anybody out there. I don't even know what's going on. You were talking about the warrant, then you go off onto something else, and I don't know what either one of you guys, like either topic that you're talking about. I'm not familiar with anything that's happening, so you must have inside information on something because I've got no clue. Especially with the second one and the first one, I'm like, what are you
I'm
talking
pretty
about?
sure you do have information on what this warrant was about.
About a Facebook post?
No, about what this warrant is about.
What about the Facebook post? Why, I have no idea
What
what
I
that's
said is that
about.
we had a trustee that was concerned about some Facebook post and wanted to have a meeting and wanted to have an attorney present. And
I
that
have
was,
no, again, what idea what you're talking about. Did you bring this up publicly?
She's referring to me. I did have a meeting with the chief of police and the mayor and village administrator Reif, but at no time did I request to have a.
and again, did I ever require for an attorney to be present for anything? Or did I simply submit something to the village that I felt
I
was,
have no idea.
was not, well, I'm trying to explain it, Jennifer. I don't think that we have to be rude and laugh about it like
I'm
it's
just saying
something
that I don't
ignorant.
understand. I see people out there who are like, what's going on? I don't even know as a
Sure.
trustee what's going on, and you keep bringing up even further stuff that I don't even know what's happening.
Okay.
So
So I'm trying to explain, okay? There was an issue that came up that I felt that something was not proper, was not being handled properly, that I was not being treated properly per our village handbook. And I tried to resolve it numerous ways. I asked to specifically speak with the trustee that was involved. I asked to meet with the trustee on numerous occasions. I asked for a meeting to be brokered with our village administrator with that trustee, and that trustee was not willing to do that. I sent an email out to everybody on this board a day and a half after this escalated. And I did receive responses from two of our trustees, but two of them I didn't. One of them was you. And so I
you're
waited.
constantly asking questions that are like,
Well, I'm trying to
just
explain.
trying to like almost get people in trouble.
not-
And you're also trying to like look for ways to like, for us to like badmouth somebody on the board. And I said, I don't want to be a part of it.
Jennifer, I am not.
I don't
you're
want to be a
asking what
part of
happened.
anything that you have going on here. I don't want to be a part of it.
Okay.
I just don't want to be a part of your negativity here.
Jennifer, I'm not being negative at all.
Okay, sounds like
Okay.
it.
But the reality is that I did reach out to everyone. I tried to get resolution on some things. And I was left with feeling like my only recourse was to file something and to have something, looked into. I didn't know what that entailed. I went off of our village handbook and that's what I did. And where it
I
went
didn't
from
even know
there.
we had a village handbook for the board here. We have a village handbook.
We have
I
a
was never
village
given a
handbook.
village handbook.
We have a village handbook and that's what I went off
For
of.
board members?
Is it, yeah, I've never ever received anything or had Jake meet with me and say, hey, we have a village handbook here.
employee handbook.
It's an employee
Like,
handbook.
okay.
Okay, so as elected officials, we qualify we qualify as an employee.
Well, there's a fine line with that.
I'm not a village employee. I'm an
We don't-
elected official.
We don't receive benefits, we don't get workers' comp, we don't get insurance, we're not hired by the village, so I'm trying to understand how we're considered an employee of the village. Could the
Yeah,
attorney maybe clarify that for me?
I don't pass out employee handbooks to the village board unless they ask for it.
Attorney Euler, can you clarify that one for me?
What is the specific question?
Are we considered an employee of the village?
It depends on the circumstance. It depends what the context is. If you're having taxes withheld from the compensation you receive per meeting here, it depends whether you're looking at the IRS, depends whether you're looking at a pension system, depends
What if
whether you're looking at something
somebody's
else.
filing a complaint, though?
Pardon?
What about filing a complaint?
I think there was a conservative position taken here that the most applicable, as I understand it, the most applicable policy was your harassment policy. And it does have a very expansive description of who would or wouldn't be covered. I don't know that it's limited to employees.
And
So-
what if the employee handbook specifically states that you can't be an employee and an elected official at the same time? The handbook
does not.
specifically states that. You cannot be you cannot be an employee of the village of Cary and be an elected official.
Does it say that?
Yeah, it does, page 63. If the employee is elected to village office and certified, the employee shall resign from village employment.
Right, I don't think that covers the stipend that you receive for the meetings. I don't know if that's the context that you would read that in. So as I understand it, the decision that was made in this
Isn't that
case,
contradictory?
no, you can't, you can't have additional employment, a trustee can't, in a village so that you are paying yourself. There's a specific statute that relates to your compensation as an elected official that authorizes you to receive a stipend, to receive compensation, and for the mayor to do the same.
I understand that, but if the employee, can you read that exactly, what it said again? I don't have it in front of me.
If the employee is elected to village office and certified, the employee shall resign from village employment.
That's if you're an employee.
Right, so we're not employees.
I think that's meaning if it's someone that works for, if Eric wanted to run for office, for example, and was elected, he could no longer serve in that capacity.
Right, so you can't be both, you have to be one or the other. So we are elected
Okay,
officials.
so the bottom line is, okay, I received what the harassment policy was. I felt that I had a legitimate claim, and I filed something. Where it went from there was up to administration.
Well, I think that we have a motion on the table for, to pay a bill. Got a little bit off the beaten path here. I understand that there is some angst to this. One thing that I try to mediate a few of these things is that if we feel that we are not trusting in our administrator for an expenditure up to $20,000, then I think that we need to revisit that policy. But the way the policy is written right now gives our village administrator written approval. And as long as I've been involved in the village of Cary since 2008, 2009, it has always been that $20,000 threshold. We've incurred a couple different things here in the last several years, and some uncharted territory.
If you
But
guys
the-
want to talk, can you please leave so that I can hear what the mayor is saying? Thank you.
What we have right now is a invoice for services that were performed for the village of Cary, authorized under our village administrator's signing authority. We have an obligation to pay this. How we move forward in the future with regards to specific expenditures is up to this body to decide. But right now, we are looking at Jake acted as he should have in his role as village administrator. He sought counsel for something and followed their advice. And that's exactly what had happened. There was nothing foul here, anything. We just decided that, this needed to be handled. So that's where we are right now. We have an expenditure that has been charged to the village of Cary for services that have been rendered.
That's a shame, because I don't think this should have ever happened.
Well, that's a discussion for another time, Trustee Cavelli. But right now, we have an expenditure that's been charged to the village of Cary under our village administrator's signing authority. Is there any other questions regarding that? Roll call, please.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Weinhammer,
No,
Betts,
Yes?
Kostler,
No.
Cavelli,
No.
Kraus.
No.
Okay, that's going to get interesting. Thank you. I will entertain a motion to approve a resolution waiving the purchasing policy competitive bid requirements for the Metro Platform Resident Pedestrian Ramp Construction Services contract and authorizing the village administrator to execute a contract with V3 companies in the amount not to exceed $76,165 and approve a contingency of up to 10% for unforeseen changes in scope for a maximum project budget of $83,781.50.
so moved.
Second.
Again, this is something that we've all approved before. This is the approval of the contract. It all falls within the budget for the Metro project. Roll call, please.
Weinhammer,
Yes,
Betts,
Yes.
Costello,
Yes.
Cavelli,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
McAlpine.
Yes.
I will entertain a motion to approve, to award the Metro Platform pedestrian ramp construction bid to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Copenhagen Construction, Gilberts, Illinois, in the bid amount of $203,200.01, and adopt a resolution authorizing the village administrator to execute a contract with Copenhagen Construction and to approve contingency of up to 10% for unforeseen changes in scope for a maximum project budget of $223,520.01.
So moved.
Second.
Again, this was already approved by the village board. This is the formality issuing the contract for that. Roll call, please.
Betts,
Yes.
Costello,
Yes.
Cavelli,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
McAlpine.
Yes.
Weinhammer.
Yes.
Thank you. And finally, I will entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Pinethorpe Jenkins Limited as village prosecutor.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Costello,
Yes.
Cavelli,
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Weinhammer,
Yes.
Betts.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving to the administrator's report.
Mayor, Village Board, before you this evening here is, and I emailed it out to you, but just wanted to update the public. The Historical Society is going to be collaborating with the Park District here to unveil and dedicate a sculpture of the village's founder, William Dennison Carey. That's going to happen here at J.C. Park on Sunday, May 20th. Dedication is from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So refreshments will be served, and I think that'll be a great event. The other item here, too, that we had approved on the consent agenda was an IGA with the Village of Algonquin. Right now, Director Simmons and I are working with Algonquin on this, and we're developing a steering committee. Would like to have one of the village board members on this steering committee. Essentially, the steering committee is advising CMAP and providing guidance to the process and acting as a sounding board. So I'll be sending out an email to see if there's any village board members that are able to volunteer on that steering committee. That's all I had.
Thank you. Chief, do you have anything for us?
Two things, both informational. First thing is that we conducted a drug take-back event on April 28th. Deputy Chief Fillmore staffed that, and we collected 63.4 pounds of unwanted prescription drugs on that one-day event. Previous to that, we collected 84.2 pounds in the mailbox that we have, or the collection box that we have in our lobby. So the DEA, our investigator, transported it down to the DEA in Chicago to have it disposed of, and that was a total of 147.6 pounds of unwanted prescription drugs that were collected within approximately the last 6 months. They conducted a drug take-back program in the fall of last year. So that's the first thing. Second thing is informational, and Special Olympics always has an event in May during Police Week. It's called Comp on Top, and we'll be conducting that event in Cary on May 18th at our Dunkin' Donuts at 3 Oaks and Route 14.
Thank you, Chief. Brian, do you have anything for, or I'll go to, I'm sorry, Eric, I just skipped right over you, pal. Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple reminders of a few items we talked about before. Spring cleanup is fast approaching, so for the area of town north and east of Route 14, your spring cleanup is Saturday, May 5th, so that's upcoming Saturday. And then for the other half of town, south and west of Route 14, is Saturday, May 12th. And also another reminder, then following that, curbside brush collection will begin. We will change it up a little bit, so the heart of town, similar to spring cleanup, north and east of Route 14, the brush pickup will begin the week of May 14th. So being that Monday, our crews will go through that side of town, and then the following week, starting Monday, May 21st, we'll hit the south side of town, south and west of Route 14. And you can check the village website for details, and as well as the typical parameters for the brush collection. Thank you.
I have a question with the mattress pickup. Last year, we had a problem with that. this year, it says on the website that we have to put plastic around the mattresses.
Yeah, so that's the
Where
same
do you get the
parameter that we had
plastic?
last year. And that simply means whether it's a plastic mattress cover or they have the wrapping, like the saran wrap type of plastic that you can use from a packing company or home improvement stores, just to wrap it so that it's just not a bare fabric mattress out there.
Okay.
So that was the same parameters last year. Advanced Disposal took extra steps with the changes to the timing this year. They included those parameters in the postcard that went out to all customers. So we're hoping that that combined with the additional details spelled on the website will ensure that more residents are aware of the different ways that the materials have to be placed. But mattresses are the specific one that has a little bit of an extra effort to it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Brian, anything? Okay. Any future agenda items and discussion by the village board? Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Just a couple minutes. We'll